When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome back to another episode of the Wrap Up, the show where we break down everything that went down the Sunday, usually the night before, but it's a Tuesday today, to break down everything that happened in House of the Dragon. Episode 4, Tumbleton, a very Hightower focused episode. I didn't get the chance to rewatch this one this week, but which means I didn't get to take notes. So we're gonna rely a lot on Evan, maybe. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Evan, how do you feel about this?
Well, I was a bit distracted taking notes on my end, but this was a pretty simple episode, actually, so not a lot of confusion, but I do have some questions, especially regarding, like, Ormund's character, Rhaena dropping some bombshells, Rhaenyra's actions at the end of the episode. We're halfway through this season. I'm loving it so far, but it's setting up a lot of messiness and intrigue and conflict leading into the final half of season 3 here. The to be continued stuff left us with some battles in the future to see, maybe. So I'm very, very intrigued. But mostly, yeah, in contrast to last week, where it was very Rhaenyra focused, singular. A very special episode last week with being very singular Rhaenyra focused. Didn't see much of anybody else. This was all mostly Ormund. While Rhaenyra's doing some, still dealing with some troubles during her rule. But seeing Ormund have like this manipulative fear tactics with Daeron was very, very, very intriguing. I liked seeing more from this new type of villain in the Game of Thrones universe, and I'm very intrigued by it.
Yeah. The way that I like to describe Ormund so far in the show, it is kind of like an archetype of like the Tywin type, but he's not quite there. He's like the 12-year-old wannabe Tywin of this guy still loses his shit, throwing tantrums, and we'll talk about it as we really separate his storyline, and his arc in this episode really is like the meat of this week. But yeah, sure. like one of the most fascinating villains already in the show.
Already, and I forgot to mention, we're going to talk about it as well. We got some crazy Rhaena and Daemon story to talk about, which is very entertaining as well. Matt Smith is just continuing to deliver perfect facial expressions because his exasperation during that scene was amazing. So yeah, and I'm very excited. And yeah, we couldn't do this yesterday because this mother effer over here was sailing to the high seas and partying off with with Nolan over here. You lucky motherfucker. But
yeah, I've seen the Odyssey. Full review tomorrow.
I hate you, but I love you. That's crazy. I can't wait. But yeah, we're here. Let's start off with. Do we start from the beginning? So let me see here what's going on in the beginning in the episode. It's hard to break. We're back now. Edgar to multiple different storylines.
Yeah, this episode does feel maybe the most classic Thrones out of this season in particular so far. We're like jumping off of various locations, various POVs. Again, like it felt very classic like Thrones. Like you would focus on the Lannisters. In this case, it would be the Hightowers. Then we would jump to Daenerys, which weirdly enough, it feels like in this case it would be maybe like a mix of either Rhaena and Rhaenyra, of like dealing with like dragons, but also the politicking. Sure. Then the stuff with Aegon, which again keeps being one of the most interesting things in the show, surprisingly. Maybe not too surprisingly, but it's a good surprise.
ingesting some comedy, but we also got some emotional aspects too with Aegon and Sunfire. But yeah, it's interesting that you say like it's felt like classic Game of Thrones. I felt that same way too. It felt like a classic, like not like amazing episode, but just like a very worthwhile, very interesting episode that sows the seeds for later stuff to happen. Which is again classic Game of Thrones. People love that kind of shit. Which is interesting because like we were talking about this earlier, I think episode 1 or 2 with House of the Dragon, where House of the Dragon, like especially season 1 did that very well, going between different stuff, but like season 2 was going through a lot of different stuff at a faster pace, and people were kind of like not able to sit with a lot of scenes personally. But this episode really got to sit with certain scenes, get a lot of great reactions and a lot of great character moments from, even though we're going off in different directions. So I do like that part. But yeah,
where do you want to start? I feel like
we do.
Do you want to start with Rhaena?
We can, because again, we always start with Rhaena, but we can start with Rhaena here. Yeah, let's zig and zag, because she doesn't appear again. Because the episode does start off with Tumbleton, but Rhaena doesn't even appear again. But we can talk about Rhaena and Daemon
and
the Vale and get them kind of sorted off with. So then let's start off with Daemon because it leads up into the Rhaena stuff a little bit here. Back on Daemon Watch, baby. 2026, we're back, baby. Again, Matt Smith is one of my favorite actors working in the industry, and his what do you want to call it? Jesting, his just the back and forth between him and Lady Aaron is just peak comedy. It's so great. They're talking back and forth. She brings up his ex-wife that he smashed in the face with a rock from the Vale. So kind of like, oof, hey, I'm back. Not the person she really cares to see, Lady Aaron. But he eventually says, like, if you want me to get out of your hair, we're broke as a bitch. Give us some money. Please give us some money. And she's like, you know what? Take some. Take some. And she's right, though, at the beginning where she's like, you're requesting all this stuff, but you kind of betrayed us, right? Like, you promised us a big dragon while we were taking care of your kids. And now we have no big dragon. He gave us like a little pet dragon and an egg. So like didn't really feel really reciprocated from Rhaenyra there. So there was some friction there already in the beginning of this conversation. But eventually she's like, she eventually just gives him the money. But yeah, this whole interaction was very cool.
Yeah. And it leads to one of my favorite duos in this show, which is Caraxes and Daemon. It's funny because up to this point, we always bring up the whole speech that Viserys made in the pilot of the show of like the dragons are a power never to be trifled with. Mm-hmm. But like we've always seen Daemon out of everybody in the show be the one person who actually has like a genuine bond and also control over his dragon. And just getting to see Caraxes be like, man, I'm not gonna listen to you on this one. I need to see what's up with with what I'm hearing. Peak comedy again. Like Matt Smith's like reactions in the show have always been gold, but they're really funny in this with Caraxes. And one of the things that I just love about the show in general, but also I feel like this particular episode does a really good job at establishing how important these dragon bonds are.
Yes,
not just between Daemon and Caraxes, and then we also see Rhaena and Sheepstealer, but like later on, which again becomes very important to the whole Hightower scheme of it all, between Targaryen and Daeron. We always you think about the line that Daenerys has of like a dragon is not a slave, and you really get to see that at play here. And I just love how the personalities of the dragons are like they like shine through in the show more so than Game of Thrones ever did.
Yeah, they're shining through. They have a deep connection. We also see it with Sunfire and Aegon a little bit, even though Sunfire is out of commission.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating to see. I love this connection. It's so powerful. It's so interesting. And yeah, you're right. Like Daemon and Caraxes, what a fun duo. They're just so fun. I love the big old green screen in the background as Daemon putting money onto Caraxes. It didn't look the best, but I love this duo so much. And yeah, Caraxes, smelled, heard, instantly goes over to see what the fuck is going on in this random cave. And I love how Daemon's battle stance too, of like pointing a sword, putting his hand over the pommel.
He's always holding that sword like a shotgun for some reason, and I fucking love it.
He's coming in here. It's just so cool. Yeah, I got that form down tight. It's really awesome. And then we get an awesome, Rhaena. There's one thing she can do right in this episode. It is get a cool aura shot of her coming out of the cave with Sheepstealer's like flames in the background.
It felt very like book Daenerys to me.
Yeah, like it kind of reminded me, everybody's favorite season 8 of Game of Thrones. When she's walking with the what's her dragon's name now? I forget.
Drogon. Yeah,
Drogon's wings flapping in the background. Yeah, it's like pretty. Yeah. The one good thing about that episode was that one shot. And it kind of reminded me of that, where it's just like a dragon rider or a farming with their dragon. It's always very fucking cool.
And to me, like, it's funny because we've been complaining about Rhaena since honestly, like season 1, especially in season 2. And I'm seeing this play out, and even though I'm still like not the greatest fan, I will say having the whole Daemon of it all, the aspect of Daemon getting involved in her storyline, is instantly making this entire storyline much more engaging than just having her on her own. For a multiple of reasons, right? One of them being haven't really seen Daemon be a dad in the show at all. He's always been on his own. He's always doing his own thing, always running away when things get like slightly difficult, especially in his personal relationships with people. So seeing him be faced with like, oh shit, my youngest daughter, one of my daughters, is like a dragon rider, but not only that, like she claimed a wild dragon, and then you involve the whole Jace of it all, and you can see like all of these little things running through his head, like he's doing the math of like what does this mean. It's really fun because again, it feels like this is the first time where he's actually being a parent, where he's actually giving a shit.
Yeah, people talk about it all the time, but like in season 2, when he just like brushes past Rhaena and Baela, like season 1, he hardly paid attention to them, even when when his wife dies. Like we had to scrounge up like the deleted scenes of him with his daughters, but like he hasn't been like not even including those because they're deleted scenes, but like he just hasn't been a real father. And you're right, one of our major complaints going back to season 2 with Rhaena was that like she was just alone. She didn't have an interesting dynamic, because even in season 2, when you were talking about Nettles, which rest in peace, we were just talking about like how even in that storyline, just from what you told me, at least there's a dynamic at play between Rhaenyra, Nettles, and Daemon. With the Rhaena storyline, at least in season 2, there was nothing. It was just her, grass, and a green screen, and her just complaining. And we're just like, nothing is happening. There's nothing. There's no back and forth, which Game of Thrones is always classic back and forth. We want that dynamic or relationship or something. Even if she was with the Sheepstealer in season 2 and maybe they kind of grew together, that could have been interesting because it's a dragon and a rider. But that didn't even happen. She found him at the very end of the season. Cut to now, you're right. Like this Daemon stuff is automatically putting a smile to my face because I'm like, it's giving us a chance to see Daemon in a way that we haven't seen him before. His exasperation, he's like mentally exhausted. Again, it kind of reminds me of Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3, where he's just going through every possible scenario of what he could possibly do to get her to come back, or maybe Rhaenyra will forgive you. It's like, even he doesn't even believe most of that stuff. He's like, you can see Daemon out of his element, which is so rare, because when he's in his element and he's usually in control or faking that he's in control. And here he can't even fake it. He's just like he doesn't know what to do. And in contrast, at least even Rhaena is getting some good stuff in here too, because she's also biting back. And even though we're annoyed by her, understandably so, everybody is, she's putting up some great points to Daemon, saying like, A, as we said, we haven't been around much. B, I actually have some use in this family now, because without a dragon, I was just sent off to Pentos. And even Daemon reminds her about that too. understandably so. So there's like delicious Game of Thrones where like you can see both points of views here because it's like you had one job and we're not gonna let you forget it. My children, our children are supposed to be overseas with you. You're supposed to be over there protecting the kids, and you're over here with the dragon. And you did lead to the crown prince dying, and now you're just hiding out. It's like it's just a lot of danger and unknowns with Rhaena that Daemon is just so worried about. Like you can't just what is your plan? It's kind of like a parent, in any coming of age story, and the kid's like, I'm leaving, I'm going to college, and I don't have a plan. Like, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. And the parents are like, you're just going to figure it out. What do you mean? Well, you need to have a plan. And for Rhaena, she's just like, I'm just going to stay in this cave and figure it out. I'm like, like, what is your future, Rhaena? What do you really want to do? I understand that you want to be independent. I understand that you found a new wind, a second wind in life, basically, with this dragon bond. But at the same time, it's not even a strong dragon bond. And what's next for you? And I kind of like that she leaves Daemon in the wind, asking himself those same questions, because she just rides off, and she's just like, just lie. And that's what he kind of does in the subsequent scenes. After peering over and seeing poor little sheep wrangler over there. But yeah, it is a very contentious relationship, and again, it's something that we mentioned at the top of the season that we expected, Daemon with Rhaena. Hopefully, even though Rhaena, ditched him this week, hopefully this continues. I don't want this to be the only scene with Daemon and Rhaena. I want that to be continued as well. I want to see that build up. She can't hide out forever. It is going to get found out by someone, maybe starts with an M later on. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's funny that at the start of the season with episode 1, when we see that scene between her and Lady Jane Eyre, how I remember, I think one of the things that I said is like, I wonder if this is the way to adapt the story beat in Nero's arc about her like going into exile and just disappearing from the story. And that's basically what Rhaena is doing right now. How will they bring her into the conflict, if they do at all? We'll see. Again, maybe it starts with an M with a certain someone. But yeah, like I cannot wait to see the inevitable wedge that's gonna come out of this between Rhaenyra and Daemon as a result of what he does. It wouldn't be a House of the Dragon episode if Daemon didn't commit a war crime. So
it is so fascinating because I think I mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago, but it's just like all last season, Rhaenyra and Daemon couldn't get along, and Daemon was separated from Rhaenyra, and I like seeing them in lockstep in episode 3 or episode 2. They were in lockstep together. They were, taking over King's Landing together, and I love that shit. Emma and Matt working together. But because, it is sadly inevitable that Daemon is going to mess that up and create some friction between them with this subsequent lie. So let's talk about it now. Let's just keep it on Daemon watch. Rhaenyra is doing a lot of the shit this episode, but he brings a big old head, literally a head, to the table. And it's not great. It's not perceived very well, but I love the direction of this scene. This was, once again, we got to mention up top, this was another Claire episode. I keep forgetting her last name. Claire Kilner. Another, I think, might be her last episode. She did 2, 3, and 4, maybe, I think.
You're right, yeah.
So I heard this might be her last episode, but she's always wonderful. She's killing it. And the sound, draining out in the close zoom in on Emma's face during this, as the head is just like in our faces as an audience member, is just so fascinating. Because she like drowns out Massaria. You have the Tormund Manderly talking over there. He's a new master of coin. And Daemon's like talking to her, but she can't hear any of it. She's looking at the face of, presumably, as Daemon announced, the killer of Jace. And they kind of just like, this was beautifully directed because like he drops the head on the table and then it's like, oh yeah, and what's for dinner? So anyways, we're gonna keep on talking, and she's just like, yeah, but everybody leave the room. God, get out of here. She's like, She's like slowly, like everybody get the fuck out of here. Besides Daemon, and Daemon's like, gosh, yeah, I thought I could brush this over, but now we got to talk about it. And this was just so amazing, man.
Yeah, I love the scene because it very you can really tell how it's not necessarily betrayal, but Rhaenyra feels robbed from the chance of practicing the quote unquote queen's justice, which wouldn't even be injustice, it would have been revenge.
Yes.
But yeah, like, man, these two, like, yeah, I live for this shit. And as you said, the very first person that clocks in what's happening in the room is Mysaria. So we need to talk about that.
Yes.
She might be one of the only people who actually really understands Daemon for who he really is, which is funny because they're not an item anymore. They kind of have like this rivalry. They don't really like each other, but there's almost like a level of respect, even though there's animosity between them.
I mean, by the way, real quick, how long were they together in season 1? Were they together prior to the events of season 1?
Yeah, you can assume that they've been together for a while before season 1, and then after that, how long has it been? Like maybe a couple months between episode 1 and 2. Okay. At least that's what it feels like. Once like Daemon is in Dragonstone and he takes Mysaria with him. You know, people forget, and even I sometimes forget that even Mysaria has like somewhat of a relationship with Caraxes. Like, you know, like that scene in the pilot where he's like brings her over and you're like, oh, come look at my dragon. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, it's like very stereotypical guy trying to show up his motorcycle type of thing. It's really funny.
But yeah, like she knows him so well, and it goes back to those season 1 scenes, like, you know, where I remember some of the early stuff. I'm like, I like this relationship between, and this is before he got attracted to Rhaenyra, but like I liked a lot of the Daemon and Mysaria stuff with season 1, where there's just the two of them, and he's scheming and he's talking about Otto and Viserys. Like, she knows Daemon, she knows his tics, she knows his movement, and she knows, like, just by the way he walks, something's up here.
Yeah. And what does she say when he walks out of the room? Again, I didn't get the chance to
I didn't get the exact quote, but yeah, like she's like, she just definitely
she makes a comment. Yeah.
Like the face, especially, like that face, like, okay, something's up here.
Yeah. And again, like as we talked about it on top of the season in the first episode, I'm very curious with the whole Mysaria aspect in Rhaenyra's arc, because to me, even though like it might seem like she does have good intentions, and she does, like, you know, they get the coin from the Vale, they want to get the money, and one of Daemon's propositions is like, oh, let's pay the cops, let's pay the gold cloaks, and Rhaenyra goes against that because of Mysaria's advice of like, no, let's help the small folk, which is a very noble thing to do, but also how is that gonna get you anywhere in this war? Like, it is like kind of a complicated thing. But the thing with Mysaria is that I wonder if part of her arc in this show is gonna be of, I want to be the only person that Rhaenyra listens to, and Daemon and Alicent to an extent are just an obstacle in my way for me to be that person.
That could definitely be it, and that's a great point. And it brings to question a lot of things, even though we see in this episode, right? You said, like, she wants to be the only person giving some influence to Rhaenyra, right? But as we said as well, Mysaria's main sphere of influence is the people. We got to get the people on our side. It worked well with the coins, or with the ravaging from the rich, giving to the poor, Robin Hood shit. What makes it that so fascinating is, I got two things about Mysaria, but the first one here is that, like, by the end of the episode, regarding the people, I'll just kind of zoom ahead a little bit, but like with the whole Queen of Bastards, what do you want to call it? Like recklessness, damage, or pursuit? That's against the people. Mysaria had zero, no nada influence on that decision from Rhaenyra. It directly affects the people. How is Mysaria then going to contend with that? I think just Rhaenyra's actions at the end of this episode directly correlates with like Mazaria's possibly waning influence on Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is her own person, and she is going to do things like what she did in this episode with the pursuit for the Queen of Bastards, whoever painted it, graffiti, whatever. Just that aspect makes it seem like Rhaenyra's recklessness is going to be a bit too hard to handle for Mazaria, regardless of the Alicents and the Daemons in her way. So that's very fascinating by itself.
Yeah. And that's a decision that Rhaenyra gets to on her own. Like you can say that Ulf had an influence, and yeah, he is the one who put the thought in her head, but he didn't say, "Oh, you should like go and punish them" or anything like that.
No.
Like if anything, he kind of did the opposite, which is surprising to say about Ulf. Of like, hey, like your people are saying this, maybe you should be more appreciative of those people. In a sense, even though like Ulf is also like a fucking idiot trying to like ask for pardons Trump style. But for all of these like horrible people, horrible men in Flea Bottom. But
Yeah.
he's like, don't worry about what crimes they committed. But yeah, like how is Mysaria gonna react to what happened at Flea Bottom with her gold cloaks next week? And does that have a role to play in why she kind of maybe wants to get back to at Rhaenyra and create this wedge between the two by revealing the
Ooh.
truth?
What does
I don't
that
know.
what does that do for her, right? Like what does that do for Mazaria? It's like, okay, I'm losing influence in Rhaenyra. She's doing these things against the people. My solution to help the people is to create disunity between her and Daemon. But let's go back to that right now, right? Like, okay, so she susses out Daemon. It's funny for me to theorize because you possibly already know what's going to happen, but like she susses out basically that Daemon is up to no good. But even if she's like, okay, Daemon brought back somebody that's not the killer of Jace, let's say she finds out that Rhaena is the one that killed, or that Rhaena is the dragon rider, and she's riding Sheepstealer. Which it definitely be possible to catch on to. Mazaria is a Lady of Whisper. She has a lot of sources, a lot of rats. And we see Rhaena just fly off to who knows where. It's not, Rhaena's not hiding herself anymore. I mean, at least she's in the cave. She can go to a random town, and who knows what. Next week, we could see somebody spot Rhaena, and next thing you know, that same person is a whisperer to Mysaria. Either way, what I'm trying to say is that Mysaria could find out that Rhaena is the Dragon Rider and that Daemon is responsible. But my main question is, what does that do for Mysaria? Cool, you're stoking discontent between Daemon and Rhaenyra. But I say this on Big Brother and Survivor all the time. It's just like, where is Rhaenyra going to go? Yes, I'm pissed off at you, Daemon. And then what? Like what? You want to execute Daemon? You're just going to get mad at Daemon, and then he'll apologize, and then he'll box for you. He'll fight you. He'll fight in a war for you, and then it's all good, right? Maybe not. Am I just too optimistic about like Daemon and Rhaenyra's relationship? And Daemon's not the best husband either. He's not a great husband. He's not a great father. Not a great person. That's why I like Daemon. But my main thing is that like, what's going to be the end goal for Mysaria here? Even if you do stoke some discontent between them, what can you possibly gain from this chaos?
Yeah, and to be honest, I am as much in the dark as you are now because again of the changes of making Rhaena the new Neros basically in the story in this version of the story. As I said before, the whole wedge kind of happens because Mysaria starts getting in Rhaenyra's head, like, oh, like these two are getting a little bit too close, and they might be like developing like a relationship, a romantic relationship. And it is a bit more simplistic. It's more stereotypical, I guess, of like having this woman, this queen, be jealous of her cheating husband type of thing. Whether it's true or not, again, Fireblood doesn't ever really confirm if they were like actually sleeping together or if it was like more of a daughter's father relationship, which is the version that the show went with. So again, we'll see. And one of the things that Daemon does as a result of that wedge is like at some point he leaves and he just decides to do a certain thing to like win the war. And how will that play out in the show? Again, at this point, no, I don't really have an idea because it's not like Rhaena is in King's Landing hanging out with them.
I was
which
just
is
about to bring that up. Yeah.
which is what is sort of the case in the books of like Neros is like with them, helping them, scout the land and like win some battles. She was at the gullet in a different way, but yeah, like again, like it's not as much of a race against time of like we need to leave this castle or else they're gonna kill you, because Rhaena is not even there to begin with.
That's interesting because that's what during your whole description I was thinking. Like, yeah, the main difference is that Rhaenyra can visually see that relationship taking forward, and like as you say in the books, Rhaenyra can visually be disturbed by Nedo's and Daemon's relationship. She can visually see that. In here, it's just like she has nothing to go off of. It's just still such a big mystery. And again, even if Mazarius tells her what's happening, she still can't see it for her own self. But we see how Rhaenyra is with certain people, certain enemies, like Alicent and Helena, right? For all intents and purposes, they are like sisters, but like also enemies, Greens and Targaryens. We see how she treats that. And then, but like, I just wonder how she would treat Rhaena, somebody that Rhaenyra knows closely, very well. Like, would she be willing to kill Rhaena in front of Baela? Like, to what extent is Rhaenyra going to be happy about this Jace reveal? Because I feel like it's only a matter of time, and that's why it's so interesting to me. I feel like we will get answers in the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a good segue to like dive a little bit more into Rhaenyra's whereabouts and what she's doing here in this episode. Because not only that, but like how would somebody like Corlys will react to that? Because Corlys is in a very interesting position of I'm just gonna leave, I'm gonna go fight, I'm gonna go do my own little things as a way to like release some stress, basically, from all of the legitimizing of his sons. But like at the end of the day, Rhaena and Baela are his actual grandchildren. They're not like bastard children like Jace or Luke.
I didn't even think of this connection. You're exactly right. And it goes back to that beautiful shot we saw on the beach between Alan, Adam, Corlys, and Baela.
The only one that's missing is Rhaena.
The only one missing was Rhaena. And they were like, basically, that whole speech is basically saying, we got each other. Like, my house is burned down. All you have is a name. And even though that name was not yet legitimized, they have each other. There's a strong unity there, even though, again, you mentioned Corlys is leaving. He still loves his family. That's all he ever is and ever was, is his family. And so, yeah, Baela being in the mix, or Rhaena being in that mix, can be some difficulty for Corlys. But yeah. Oh, also, I wanted to say, I like on this episode, we see with Corlys here, we see a lot of people falling back on like what they know and what they were raised by. We see Corlys, after being disparaged by Rhaenyra, falling back on his warrior ways, trying to ride out the pirates. We're going to get to it, but Kristen Cole being like betrayed by Aemond, because it doesn't really happen. And he falls back on what he knows, fighting, his quote unquote honor.
Two hands of the king and queen.
2 hands, exactly. And then we see even Ormund as a villain. It's like he felt betrayed by like not having the dragon come up to him, but he falls back on like his shrewd personality and trying to raise up Daeron in his own way. So it is very interesting how these people are really relying on what they grew up with and their heritages. But yeah, this whole Corlys thing is very fascinating. I really like it. And still a fatherly Corlys, as he's leaving, Adam was Alan, right? The bald one, Alan. Yeah. Alan was sent to go look for Corlys. Corlys is like, I ain't coming to no damn meeting. He's going to basically fight the pirates. Also, he makes a good excuse, even though it's not exactly true. But like, he wants to free up trade. The pirates are causing a lot of like, messiness with the free trade, and they need money. They need to still trade with other regions. So the pirates are still stoking that chaos. So Corlys is going to help, free that up. It could be anybody could be doing it. Corlys could just hire somebody else to do it within his army, but he wants to do it. And I kind of like that. And at the same time, as a father, Corlys wants Alan to also be like very close to Rhaenyra too, in his own way too. Like, hey, I can't be there, but you can be the person affecting Rhaenyra too.
Yeah, this kind of reminded me in a way of like at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones, when Tywin names Tyrion basically handled the king on his behalf. That's
Yeah.
kind of sort of what happens in here, and this leads to a really not fun, but like a really refreshing scene between Alan and Rhaenyra, because even
Yes.
though I do like the character of Alan and Adam for that matter, one of my gripes with that character so far in the show is that, especially in season two, where like I mean everybody has made the jokes of every time that we cut to Alan, he would just be on that they call the ship port with Corlys, just having the same conversation all over again.
Yep.
But it was just it was always been Alan and Corlys, those two, and that's basically the only real interaction that Alan has had on this show. So getting to see him talk to anybody, especially somebody like Rhaenyra, after the fact that she declined his legitimacy, it's fun. Like it's interesting. Like again, like it feels fresh, and like I am really liking the Black Council that she's forming. Again, out of her own decision. Like she decided to bring in Mysaria, even though like Mysaria is the one who told her like you need to name somebody for Master of Coins. Like she is the one who picked Torin Manderley as a result of him being like, you know what, I'm the only. Good job on you for feeding these people rats. Like even though I am part of the problem,
Yeah.
good. I see you, type of thing. And even with Maester Orwell,
I love Orwell. What a goat,
dude. I am so happy that this actor is getting more to do in the show, because he's been there since the first episode, since season one.
He's so good.
And I love that. Not to cut away from Alan, but I adore that. She names him, she gives him the job, he sits down, and then they start talking about like, oh, like why do you need all of these signs of legitimacy for your claim when you already sit in the throne? And then he like suggests like, oh, do you want to kill the high septon? And we're like, damn, already locking into the job.
Hold up, man. Yeah, your scene's still kind of cold, motherfucker. Like, chill out. That was such a great scene. Yeah,
but
I wouldn't mind if the last shot of this show is just like Orwell, not on the throne or anything, but just like Orwell, whoever's in charge, he's just like, I'm here to help. Like it's just Orwell, just always consistently being there. Whoever's
he survived, he made it.
He's like the roach, but not in a bad way, but just like he's always consistently there.
He knows how to adapt.
He knows how to adapt. Yeah, he's just chilling. It's just I love Orwell. He's my favorite.
But yeah, going back to Alan, really a nice conversation between the two, and it's funny that we kind of got like an origin story of why. Fast forward to Game of Thrones, why the Red Keep, why King's Landing is like invaded by cats. He's like, just bring cats, just have them deal with the rats.
Yeah, he mentioned how on their ships, like the easiest way to deal with rats was with the influence of cats. Like just have all these cats chase the mice for you. It's like, oh yeah, perfect, yeah, that works.
Why did nobody thought of this before? I don't know, but
yeah. Again, Emma's face, she turned around. It's like very, very Office-esque. It's just like, damn, why didn't I think of that? Very, very nice. But I do like the conversation leading up to this as well, because she is annoyed about Corlys not showing up. She's upset. But they also talk about fathers, right? They're veering over Viserys's, Lego set of Old Valyria. And she's like, the Maesters, crap, I wish I had it. But like she says how the Maesters record him as weak. Not that strong of a ruler. We were talking about last week, which makes it so very funny, because last week she's everything that she was talking about how to be a good ruler. It was always like with the comma that she wants to be like her father. And I mentioned on the podcast, like, but he's not a good ruler. And I like how she mentions that, like, yeah, the Maesters say he's not a good ruler, but he had such a proclivity to Old Valyria, and he really wanted to upheld those values. Viserys dealing with a lot of shit, he fell back on like what he was good at, the whole arts of it all, the arts, the scholarly stuff, the knowledge. And I like how in reciprocation to that, Alan is like, in a similar way, Corlys is also falling back on what he knows. He's a fighter. It's like, yeah, he could hire somebody, but he's still loyal to you, Rhaenyra, and he's still, he's fighting he's doing the thing, he's doing what he can in his own way. And Rhaenyra is obviously still annoyed, but she kind of understands, and that kind of also leads to the whole cat thing. But like, they have a good understanding in terms of like fatherly figures and this whole stuff. So yeah, like, if Corlys does want Alan to get, closer to Rhaenyra, I think this is a good first step for both of them.
Yeah, father figures, big theme of this episode with Daemon, Corlys, Viserys, and Ormond to a certain extent.
Ormond, exactly. So we talked about Corlys, we talked about Alan, but let's go get in there with Ormond and the whole aspect of Tumbleton a little bit here. Our big intro to Tumbleton was basically seeing how smart Orwell is. We mentioned it last week, but like Rhaenyra just can't go over to Tumbleton, which is very close thanks to Edgar's map behind him. Very close to King's Landing. She can't just like fly over there, burn it, and say like, Ormond, you're dead, we won, even though they have like 5,000 dragons, because obviously in the beginning of this episode, they are quartering soldiers inside of these people's homes. This is very much, as a history professor, this is what happens in a lot of conquests. The American Revolution, the British were coming. The British were quartering in people's houses, and people did not like that. And it's the same thing here. People are just coming in here with the whole Game of Thrones tinge, of course, and coming in and taking into people's houses. Edgar, I did not know until like 75% of the way through this episode that was Ormond's wife. I was like, why are we falling back on this one random woman all the time who was like isn't the person getting touched by the one weird people? Wasn't that Ormond's wife? Somebody told me that.
Ormond's wife.
Not Ormond's wife. Sorry, not Hugh's wife.
Hugh. Yeah, that's Hugh's wife. Yeah.
I had no idea that was Hugh's wife the entire. I was like, why do we keep falling back on this? Is this supposed to be like I thought Hugh's wife was just
like her POV, like person in the ground type of person.
Yeah, I thought she was like, oh, she's our POV character. That's kind of interesting. But Jalen's like, that's Hugh's wife. I'm like, I thought she was like white, but Hugh's wife was like very like much like a mixed.
No, that is one of the issues with the show, and it's not even like the show. I mean, it is the show's fault, but it has more to do with the production of the show, of how long in between seasons it takes for them to release, because it's been 2 years, and like I can guarantee you're not the only person who like, wait, who's this? And that's another thing of like, if Tylan turns out to be alive in the show and they don't reveal it until like season 4, people are gonna be like, who?
1,000%.
Yeah, so again, like I see you and I hear you, because it isn't a real issue. I don't think it would be like as big of an issue if, again, it was more of a yearly thing and it was a more complete show with actual 10 episodes. But yeah, like I get it.
I only knew because like right after the incident with Ormond delivering that said justice, they cut to Hugh being like, I need to go, my wife, is over there. I'm like, oh, okay. Just like visually, I'm not 6 years old. I could see like the editing led me to that conclusion. But I'm shocked like the beginning of the episode didn't say like previously on and cut to like Hugh and his wife.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that would have been like that easy for me. Like, oh,
yeah, it's a big deal in season 2 of like, after their daughter dies, she's like, I'm just gonna go to Tumbleton with my brother. Like, they did set it up in season 2, but again, it's been so long, like it makes sense why people will be like, what's happening here with this storyline?
Yeah, and I'm shocked they didn't include, because that scene, I went back on YouTube. I'm like, okay, that was a scene. I'm shocked they didn't say that in the previously on. Like, that could have been very, very easy. But anyways, yeah, that's what we're dealing with in Tumbleton. People are getting into people's house, or the Hightowers are getting people's houses, so it makes it much more difficult for Rhaenyra to deal with these people. But let's stick with Ormond here. When we get introduced to Ormond, in his villainy ways in the bathtub, it is very interesting introduction to this villain character as he's like, warming up in a bathtub of like the mayor of the city, the leader. I forget his name, Lord Footley. Weird name. But they are Rhaenyra supporters, and they let him know, especially the wife, lets him know that they are Rhaenyra supporters. And to see in Ormond's personality, his tics, the way he sniffs the perfume. We'll learn more about that from Allison later on. But like, it was all such a very, very intriguing intro for this smart kind of like weird villain.
Ormond to me feels like an excellent example. It's kind of like Allison also, of your stereotypical religious character that uses religion to justify what he's doing. We see that like especially in the last scene between him and Daeron, but they're all about the faith. They're all about the Smith, the mother, and all of these orders that they follow with the faith of the Seven. But throughout this episode, he keeps making like very. I mean, it is also because of the times, but he keeps making all of these very misogynistic comments about Rhaenyra. Like he calls her like, "Oh, you mean the queen bitch or whatever?" The nickname is the one that he gives her.
The bitch with the dragon, like wow.
Yeah. And then he keeps like laughing anytime like it seems that a woman is like the issue of a woman ruling like is brought up, and even the way that he deals with the justice is like he's putting on a performance, but you can tell that he's annoyed as hell that these women are coming up to him with this problem.
Yes.
And even like what he's doing in this bathtub scene is like it feels very classic Thrones, but also him just like revealing himself and like using that as a form of intimidation in a way. Out of the two, the lady keeps it together more than the guy. But again, it's a form of intimidation. He's like, I am not afraid of what I am or who I am, and I'm to the point that I don't have no issues like showing what I look like naked. Again, it's all very like passive aggressive, which is what this type of character typically is, with shielding his true self behind his religion.
Exactly. And it's funny that we brought up the whole religion aspect because I was so curious about like why the High Septon is so against Rhaenyra. And of course it goes back to the faith having, issues with dragons. But yeah, it's like they're also biased. We learn about that from Rhaenyra's end as well, where Rhaenyra asks Orwell why they are so, what's the connection between the Hightowers and the faith. And it's all over Ormond's dialogue. It's all about like the faith, the righteousness of his rule. It's like the bitch with the dragon. It's like he's all about like the evil Rhaenyra, how it should be the Hightowers, it should be Daemon on the throne, which goes into his whole personality, where it's like this whole fatherly figure with Daeron is twofold, right? It's like besides him just trying to raise Daeron up away from the influence of the drama of House of the Dragon thus far, he also just wants Daeron to be a king so he could be king, because he can just easily manipulate this guy. And you can tell just from every scene with Daeron and Ormond that they are very closely aligned. I love that scene in the middle of the episode when he gets a letter about Aemon being missing, that Daeron is the first one to be like, you guys should leave the room, because he just knows Ormond.
He knows that he's about to throw a tantrum. Yeah,
he knows he's about to throw a tantrum. It's like even like Daemon or Ormond doesn't just know Daeron so well. Daeron knows Ormond so well. They have a very reciprocal, bad relationship. And it's just so fascinating to see. And this Ormond, I just really like this overly confident. He's not the first overly confident dude in the show, but just the way that his overconfidence is so closely aligned with religion and what's truly right is so fascinating. Because Tywin was also overly confident, but he was overly confident in a way that he knew he was doing bad shit, but he was confident that he could like back it up because of what his standing was. Ormond just in a very young version of that.
Yeah, and also the thing about Tywin is that he was what he was. He was very cruel, probably the cruelest character in the show, if any of either show. But he still knew how to like deal with people.
Yes.
He wasn't an idiot, and even though I wouldn't call Ormond an idiot. Again, like you said, he's still in that young stage, I guess you could say, of his arrogance is taking more of his personality that he should let out. Um, but you mentioned the relationship between him and Darren. What I find fascinating about that relationship to me in this show is that as we learned last season in season 2 between uh, Wayne and Allison, and we get that really beautiful scene between the two of talking about Darren and how he's like really kind, and Allison basically coming to the conclusion that he's kind because she's not the one who raised him. And then you cut to what the relationship actually is, and you can tell that Darren is kind, but it seems like he's constantly fighting, embracing his Hightower personality, I guess, or like he's like in a way, like he kind of reminds me of uh Theon or John in the show of like
Yes.
you can be a Stark and also a Greyjoy, or you can be a Targaryen, you can be a Stark, whatever, and like he's in between these two of like a Hightower and Targaryen, and he's constantly being told to repress his Targaryenness, and that entire last scene, man, like that. First of all, that kid is gonna be a star after like that fucking Legend of Zelda movie comes out. But so it's nice to see
I
him
thought he
in
was
this.
Zelda. Oh my god. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So he's about to be a big kid.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But the way that he's reacting to everything is like there is a level of betrayal, but like he's kind of like a been there, done type of thing. Of actually the justice that I said that I was going to practice with what happened to this family, I'm actually going to punish them as well, because these people, these soldiers, these men are an extension of us. And if one of us gets assaulted, then you get assaulted. Everybody gets assaulted.
Which is
Which again
wild.
is it does have like that type of like cultish religious vibe to it. um and man, I love the performance, and I love what it means for Darren moving forward, because it very much does feel like a corruption of the soul, of kind of like baptism by blood, baptism by fire, um of him being forced to not be who he is, which again, he is kind, but he's being told like actually you need to start to be cruel.
Oh
So
man.
we'll see how that develops. It's much more interesting in here than it is in Fire and Blood, because again, we
Oh
don't really
really?
get much of the meat between these characters. Everything is very by the numbers, like straight to the point, paper thin. But yeah, I'm loving the relationship between these two, and that scene where he like starts swinging the sword to the table. First of all, very sturdy table for it to be handling Valyrian steel. um,
I
that
said
is
the
a
same
Valyrian
exact
steel
thing.
sword.
I said the same exact thing. I was like, damn, I thought the table was gonna cut in half, but no, it takes some hits. It takes some hits. Um, but yeah, this was I completely agree with everything you are saying. And a couple of things here that I found of note and interest is that Ormond, um, he also is not. We cut back to Rhaenyra throughout all this, throughout these scenes in the episode, and Rhaenyra's asking Orwell, like, do we have any correspondence between Otto when he was Hand King and Ormond/Darren? And they say no. Otto sent a number of letters to Ormond, but Ormond didn't respond. And that goes in line with exactly what you're saying there. He doesn't want Ormond. Ormond does not want Darren to be influenced by the infighting that is going on between the Greens and the Targaryens. He doesn't want to be tainted even by like Viserys' own children and like the Aemon, the Aegon messiness. He wants Darren, in my opinion, mainly to himself. He doesn't want like
Yeah,
Darren to be influenced by like the chaos of Aegon and Aemond, because people probably knew by then what was going on over there. So I find that very, very interesting. He wants to keep Darren caged up, like in a bird
yeah,
cage kind of symbolism. Like, hey, this is your garden. I'm
yeah.
keeping that bird cage around you, and I'm the one letting you in, and now I'm the one controlling you there.
And visually, you can see that in the way that he forces Daeron to keep his dragon chain.
Yes.
Again, going back to the whole a dragon is not a slave. He is basically treating just this dragon, this still very young dragon, even though he's like big enough to be ridden, um, as just this weapon. He's not treating us as this like actual living, breathing creature like most other Targaryens do. Even Aemon, to you say whatever you want about Aemon, he treats Vhagar with a lot of love and respect.
Exactly.
I mean, we see it with Aegon also in this episode.
Yeah, like these Aemon, Aegon, like they have a true Targaryen, because that's how they were raised over there. Like they have such a close connection to their dragons. Kind of going all the way back to season 1 during the whole like dragon pit scenes as kids, right? Like that's how literally they were raised next to their dragons. Daeron, on the other hand, was raised with Ormund, and who kept his dragon caged. So he's really trying to separate Ormund trying to separate Daeron away from his Targaryen lineage and raise up the Hightower.
Yeah, what's the line that he says? Like, I've told you not to get attached to these beasts, to this creature or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was so fascinating because last week, the High Septon was like, these, because Rhaenyra was like, oh, I'm legitimized by the dragons. Like, no, that was all dark magic. Ormond reiterates that same exact line, basically saying like, these are beings of dark magic. Like, do not be connected with them.
And yet, again, going back to the this archetype of the hypocritical religious person character, the reason why he throws the tantrum is because everybody thinks that Aemon abandoned them, and he wanted to use his dragon for his own means, and now he doesn't have that, and now he needs to rely on this very baby tiny dragon. And going back to the final scene of this of the episode between Ormond and Daeron, and he keeps telling him like, you cannot be like the others, like you need to reject your Targaryen lineage, like you cannot be attached to these beasts. And yet what happens, what's the last shot of the episode, what's the last thing that happens in the episode?
Targaryen.
Is Targaryen, like, even though he's still like chained, crawling, throwing all of the candles on the floor and eating this person that he forced Daeron to kill, and just burning him alive and eating him. And he's just like, he's not necessarily smiling, but there's like a sense of
control,
satisfaction, satisfaction in his face. Like, you're saying that you don't want these creatures with you, but you have no problem in using them for your own benefit.
Which is, it's so hypocritical, but so fascinating. Like, you're not a true Game of Thrones character if you're not hypocritical in some way or form. But going back to it all, it is, again, we talk about betrayal. It is an ultimate betrayal for Alicent. Going back to Alicent and watch a little bit, we see Rhaenyra go up to Alicent and be like, so give me the lowdown on give me the dossier on Ormond. And she's like, sorry, I don't know much. I love how Rhaenyra just like, I really kept you here and you're useless. 2 episodes in a row, you're giving me shit. Like, I can't really help you out here.
I do like that the thing that does eventually bring down the walls for Alicent is that, and I do think that Rhaenyra is genuine when she says, I wouldn't have harmed Daeron if he would have been like, surrendered to me, because he is not guilty for his brother's crimes. I believe that that's true, despite Daemon whispering in her ear. And I do think, and I do think that Alicent believes that in the moment as well. And as Rhaenyra is walking away, and Alicent, you can kind of see like in her eyes, like making the calculation, like, okay, I'll give you something. He has a thing for smells. So as soon as she said that, I'm like, is Rhaenyra gonna have the dragons like shit all over the fucking city?
I feel like that has to come back in some way, but I have zero clue how that would.
But yeah, like that was funny. But another thing with Ormond that I found contradicting in an interesting way, going back to that scene between Wayne and Alicent in season 2. Is that he's giving all of this speech about how he's kind and how he's being raised in Old Town, but then Alicent mentions something, and she mentions that when they were kids, Wayne used to think that Ormond was cruel, and
yes,
it's really fun to compare and contrast those two Hightower men, because even though, I mean, I really like Wayne, even though he's like on the wrong team, like he seems like he reminds me of Duncan out of anybody in the show. Like
Yeah.
he's still like res- trying to be respectful of people. You know, we see earlier in the season when it seems like one of the green men assaults one of just a random woman in the woods, and he
Yeah.
tries to do something about it, and he brings the news to Kristen, and Kristen is like, I don't really care. And he seems to be very troubled by this. You compare that to what then Ormond does later in the episode, with the whole, you know, sexual assault or attempt with Hugh's wife. And you know, it's funny for Wayne to say something about Daeron and how he's being raised and how he's good, while he also knows and believes that Ormond is not a good person.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. And I like how Alison specifically says, like, but also Gawain thought everyone was cool. Like Gawain thinks a lot of people are cool. That's just,
Yeah.
that goes into what you were saying, right? Like Gawain is a very honorable person. And, like, it is very true. He has a dunk aspect where Gawain's not doing anything wrong from his role in the story, right? Like he's just like, I'm for the Greens. I'm doing everything by the book for the Greens, and everyone else around him is just like fucking up. But yeah, you're right. That is weird because, like, yeah, he does call Daeron being safely raised, but knowing Ormond is also very cool. Maybe he, you know, as he should be thinking, oh, like, oh yeah, Ormond is a very cruel person, but he wouldn't do anything cruel to his own family, right? That's kind of against the rules. Like, you can be cruel, but you shouldn't. Why? There's no need to be cruel against Daeron, your own family, not knowing that Ormond has his own reasons for being manipulative and particularly cruel with Daeron in a way that is like also fatherly. Because I don't think Ormond would ever use the word cruel to what he's doing with Daeron. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just raising him to be what he should be, right?
Yeah.
Which is, and this is all happening like behind closed doors, right? I don't think even Gawain knows what's going on with like Ormond and Daeron. But he probably has seen Ormond react very harshly to women and people.
Yeah.
Just from what we've seen in this episode.
Yeah, I think if this show were to be from it would be a weird show, but like if it were to be told from the perspective of Daeron and what he's been living through in Old Town, we would be talking about Gwaine and Ormond as like a devil and an angel on his shoulders type of relationship.
Big time. But yeah, again, it is just so tragic because Helena tells Rhaenyra how she was the one who sent Daeron to Old Town. And this kind of shocked Rhaenyra because she's like, why is like most of your kids here and Darren's not over there? Because she's like, you know, I wanted to keep one kid safe. I want to keep one kid over there to be protected. It's just so, you know, it goes par for the course. It's just so tragic for Allison. Yeah. Just like, I wanted one kid over there to be raised right. Cut to Daeron having to stab an innocent person. It's just like
cut to Daeron basically like the SpongeBob maybe on the corridor on the hallway.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
But yeah, like I like I like the line specifically that she says. She says something along the lines of, I raised 3 Targaryen children. I wanted one of them to be a Hightower.
Which is so, again, so ironic and tragic. You're right, because like, yeah, he is getting raised more so on the Hightower aspect of his heritage, but the Hightower part that Ormond is forcibly putting upon him is very hypocritical, as you mentioned, but also so forcible that it's not good for his character. But again, by killing innocent people and feeling like the Hightowers are above everybody else, that even somebody who attacked an assaulter is getting killed for it. Like, that's not good Hightower stuff. She wants him to be more like Gwaine, and he's going further and further away from the Gwaine side of things. So it is tragic for Daeron, tragic for Allison. But yeah, and Ormond's such a fascinating character. I'm trying to see what else we should talk about here.
Staying with Allison a little bit, do you want to talk about the Helena?
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I did not see this coming. My mouth dropped. I did not see this coming. So at the end of the day, at night, Rhaenyra, again, as a token of appreciation for Allison, giving her some info on Ormond, tells her that, hey, yeah, your father's ashes are being sent to Old Town basically, and like gives her like the ring or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's getting a little bit drafty, and Rhaenyra and Allison's helping out Helena with her robes, and Helena,
Map
what's going
doesn't
on
fit.
here? It doesn't fit. What's going on here? Why can't this button fit? Pregnant. Helena's pregnant. And this had me confused. My dad immediately called me last night, like, how is this possible? And again, it goes, I think my main thing is that, like, it goes with the course that, like, the season 2, season 3 production was a bit messy for people. Because they're like, hasn't it been so long since Aegon got injured? That hasn't it been very long? And I'm
No.
like, I don't think it has. In universe, it hasn't. Like, again, for
No, it
us, it's
hasn't.
been 2 years. And even I was confused. I was like, I think it makes sense. And Jen was like, how long has it been since Aegon got burned? I'm like, given that Helena is not fully showing that she's pregnant, it had to have only been like 1 to 2 months since Aegon got burned and Rhaenys died. And in season 2, it made sense because season 2 is moving at a breakneck speed. But again, because we were so far off from season 2 and season 3, like Battle of the Gauntlet takes place right after the events of season 2, and now we're in season 3, which takes place a week after the Battle of the Gauntlet, stuff like that. So, or days after Battle of the Gauntlet. So it has been, again, like I think like 1 to 2 months. So now she will starting to show very, very soon. But yeah, this is Aegon's kid confirmed, right?
Yeah. Well, assuming that that's what's happening, in Fire and Blood, Aegon and Helena have 3 children. It's Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and Maelor. And as if you remember me talking about the whole blood and cheese of it all, last season, the way that plays out is that all 3 kids are basically like around like toddler age, and blood and cheese force Helena to choose between one of her sons because it's the whole son for a son type of thing. And tragically, in the book, Helena picks Maelor since he's the second son, and Jaehaerys is the heir to the throne after Aegon. And in a twist of events, Blood and Cheese decide to kill the other kid as retaliation because they know that he is the oldest kid. And one of my favorite cruel lines in the book is, what I forgot which one it is, but one of them, comes down to Maelor's level, and they tell him like, "Did you hear that, lad? Your mama wants you dead," and then they killed the other kid.
And they killed Jaehaerys.
Jaehaerys, yeah. But obviously, that's not how it plays out in the show. Maelor doesn't exist. That's one of the main issues that George R. R. Martin had with Ryan Condal and the whole butterfly effect of like the difference between the book and the show.
Really, just
also
Maelor?
because, well, it was other things, but I mean, he made it sound like there was like other blog posts that he was gonna make, and then probably HBO was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So he never got to the other issues.
I was always confused about like what was so bad about what we got from Blood and Cheese, because it kind of worked for me. Because again, for the show, when the 2 people come up, Helena, of course, is worried for both her kids. How does it work out in the show? Does Helena does she
Helena
pick, right?
No, she does, but she just gives out the kid, like the son, and Blood and Cheese think like, oh, that it's a trick, and I think it's she's the one who says like, no, she's not lying. She's giving up the real kid. She's giving out the son. And I'm with you. I really like the choice of the show, how that plays out in season 2, because one of the things that we talked about, I remember like 2 years ago with that episode, with the first episode of season 2, was this theme of the men and the women, like Allison, all of these people putting their male kids forward, like making them a priority over the women, over the daughters in the story, not just in House of the Dragon, but also Game of Thrones. Yes. Placing the boys as a priority over the girls has been constant. And to me, that entire scene of Helena just giving out the kid, to me, was like a way to illustrate that not only is Helena aware that if Allison was in this position, she would give out Helena to protect Aegon.
I remember now. We had the conversation.
And I always, the show never acknowledges, but I always view that as, I'm gonna do this for my daughter because nobody would have done that for me. And she would be right. Like, Alicent would have done that. Alicent would have given away Helena, trying to trick them into killing the girl and not Aegon. So, and we talked about that. So I really like how it plays out in the show, but obviously a lot of people were like salty that that line in particular with Maelor and all of that stuff wasn't in the show, and obviously it bothered George R. R. Martin enough to even make a blog post about it. But the reason
Ryan's
why,
like, "Hey, Maelor's coming back, guys."
I feel like one of the things, and we'll talk about it once we get to later events in the story. I think one of the reasons why people were mad and George was like upset about it is because Maelor does have somewhat of a very small role to play in making Rhaenyra seem cruel in the eyes of everybody in the realm.
Is it a spoiler?
It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler.
Because Maelor doesn't die. You said, right? Like, because in Blood and Truth,
no.
It doesn't die.
Yeah, he's still alive in the books. So in the books,
okay.
At this point in the story, it's Maelor and Jaehaera, the remaining children of Aegon, and in the show it's just Jaehaera, but now there's gonna be a Maelor. So I'm assuming what the show is doing is that it's a way to adapt that story without actually having to deal with having a child actor. I mean, the effect would still be there because Maelor is in Helena's body.
Are you insinuating that the tragic thing that Rhaenyra could do is just say like, abort this baby?
I feel. I mean, it seems like that's one of the things that Alicent will try to do with Helena. Not to kill it, but to hide it as long as they can. Because again, one of the
hide.
I mean, their primary goal this season, it seems, for Alicent and Helena is to get the fuck out of the city,
survive and get the fuck out. Yes.
Yeah, and now that there's a child on the way, that's gonna make that race against time even more, I guess, stressful for those characters and for us to see it play out. And again, it's gonna be interesting, and I feel like it's also gonna only escalate even more so after there's a conflict in Tumbleton, which is coming, as we saw in the previews.
Interesting. So yeah, like that was the first thing that came to mind. I was watching my friends, and we were all just like, unfortunately, pro-life. you might, or like pro-choice. You might have to give, might have to abort that baby. But like, I do like, heaven forbid, I like Ryan's choices here. If Ryan was saving Maelor for this side of the storyline to coincide with a progressive, cruel Rhaenyra storyline, I get it. It makes sense for me. And I could see Rhaenyra being like, gently, like, I'm not going to kill Helena. That could be the easy thing to do. Bye, Helena. That could be the easiest thing to do. But especially going out of its way to show Rhaenyra coming down, seeing how Helena's being a mother to Jaehaera by the tree. Like, Rhaenyra is like visually watching this, and it would make for an interesting dilemma if Rhaenyra is just like, okay, at the same time, I don't want to kill Helena, so just you might have to like get a miscarriage or kill the baby in the womb kind of thing. It could be an interesting dilemma.
But and you can already assume that Daemon is gonna be like, kill it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, at the same time, Daemon's gonna have a different story or different route for that as well. But maybe he might be too busy with the whole Tormund Tumbleton stuff. I was like, is Daemon gonna be? I was shocked this week when Daemon was talking about Mysaria and Sheepstealer, that Rhaenyra's like, oh yeah, by the way, Ormund hoed us. Like, he bent the knee to you, Daemon, and he lied to you. I'm shocked Daemon didn't like flip out, or
I think he's too busy worrying about the head and Rhaena than to worry about that. I'm like, I don't even.
Exactly. Rhaena's like he's talking to Rhaenyra, but half of his brain power is like, what do I fucking do? Which is, again, so interesting for Daemon. But yeah, so this whole pregnancy really dropped the bomb for me. And yeah, I had multiple people text me like, is this Aegon stuff? I don't want to look it up. I'm like, I don't know either, but I'm pretty sure this is Aegon's kid. For a second there, I was like, could this be Aemon? But I no, I don't think so, right?
I think the show did play with the idea of like, oh, maybe these two had a thing or have a thing in season one, but like that
In
never
season
went
two,
anywhere.
right? Like season
And
two,
a little
they
bit of
had
season
this
two.
scene by the balcony, but the scene by the balcony was just basically used to showcase how don't go to Harrenhal, you might die there, Aemon.
Yeah.
Like she was basically saying like how he might die. But they were very close together. I would have loved to explore more. Pardon me for being, pro incest, but I would have loved to see more Aemon and Helena stuff. But not happening so far this season. To give me
Also, because in season one it was established that he would have been into the idea of marrying her, while Aegon is like complaining about it.
exactly right. So, oh boy. So yeah, that was a big.
Speaking of
part.
Aegon,
But before we get to Aegon, I have a quick question. I forgot to ask about the whole Ulf thing. We already talked about the Queen Bastard things, but my main question was like, so Ulf asked for those favors, and Rhaenyra says no. Very hilarious. And
actually,
Ulf is on like house arrest now.
Yeah.
My main question was like, so Ulf gets told he's on house arrest. Another tick off of like Ulf, like very what's it called? People made a funny joke about it, like this is very Telltale, where it's like Ulf will remember that if you play the Telltale games, like if you make a choice, it's like so and so will remember that. Ulf will remember that, Rhaenyra. But my main thing is that like, why is his solution to being told you're under house arrest to be like, oh, by the way, there's a Queen of Bastards sign on your on the walls, like. Was he trying to rile up Rhaenyra, or like what was his main? Was he trying to be like, well, you told me no, but I'm gonna tell you this? Like, I don't know what Ulf was trying to get out of that scenario.
Yeah, I think it might be a way of him reminding him where he comes from, because he does come from those origins, same flea bottom.
True.
But how can I say this without really diving forward into the story? I think it's also a way to establish that Rhaenyra has all of these dragon riders, Adam, Hugh, Ulf. And if she was to like really upset them, especially somebody like Ulf and Hugh, who are, I mean, Adam too, but at least he has the benefit of actually being directly related to House Velaryon with like Corlys. But with Hugh and Ulf, they are small folk. Do you really think that if they wanted to be like rebel against the crown and be like, actually I could claim myself to be king of the Seven Kingdoms because I have a dragon, that they would have an easier time convincing the common people to side with them, as opposed to like this spoiled, you could say, on some level, women queen,
from their perspective,
which is from their perspective, so I think that's what might be happening. But like another thing that I really like about this interaction is that earlier we talked about Daeron and Ormund. She's doing basically the exact same thing that Ormund is doing to Daeron, of I'm gonna cage you, and like you have no permission to act on your own at all. We get the visual of Tessarion being chained and like not being able to roam free. That's what's happening to Ulf now, but like he doesn't have the actual chains, but he is just like caged on this castle unless Rhaenyra tells him that he has permission to leave and fly around the land and see what's happening. Which I do understand it, because they are some of the most valuable people that she has on her side, but
I completely understand. I'm like, yeah.
But I kind of like with Daemon, when he slapped off, it's like you have a point, but you might be going about it wrong.
Your delivery, for sure. Because I was like, this guy's going to parties, and Rhaenyra's complaints about it were completely just. Like, again, you have a nuclear bomb, you have a dragon, you are associated with me. If you die, if your dragon dies, if you get hurt, I get hurt, right? Like I lose a number basically. And And it made complete sense because, like, yeah, you're going to a tavern, but like, dude, you're not. It's like somebody becoming president of a country, but still going to a bar without security there. It's like imagine the president of the United States is going to, like, a rundown bar at night with no guards. Like, that's very risky. Anybody could be like, "Oh, I hate you. I'm envious of you." Stab, stab, and now that changed the entire trajectory of the realm of Rhaenyra's camp. Like, that's very, very bad. So it's like, it makes a lot of sense. But like you said, it's all about delivery, and it's like Rhaenyra could be like, I understand you have your things. I'll let you do certain things, but I can't let you, go just do random things anymore. It was just so ironic because this is exactly what Rhaenyra hated when she was young, right? She used to be the one who got caged in King's Landing and found secret tunnels to go away to have, one point make out with Daemon, but like just go away, do some random things. Like, she
Or
was
even with Jace.
or even with Jace, right? So like, she hated that, but now she's doing the same thing for all, which just isn't great. On top of, again, hurting the small folk, literally beating them up. And I was kind of shocked. Do you think Rhaenyra knows to what extent the Gold Cloaks were doing all that? Because when Rhaenyra said, like, I want you to find those responsible, I don't know if she envisioned all that. As we saw at the end of the episode, dragging people out, punching them in the face, breaking their arms. I'm like, did Rhaenyra expect all that to happen? Or is she going to be shocked by it or not care about it? I don't know.
I mean, if you say something like that to men who are loyal to you and you don't expect for blood to be shed, then I love Rhaenyra, but you're fucking stupid. Yeah.
Okay, because I was watching. Now I'm like, damn. I was like, they were like literally getting dragged out, punched, broken arms. I'm like, whoa.
It gave me flashbacks of Daemon's introduction in season 1.
Oh, with his gold cloaks. Yes. So it was very interesting. But you're right. Yeah, if Rhaenyra didn't expect that, that is very, very stupid and foolish. But yeah, that was my off lingering question. But yeah, going back to the comedy duo, the Parks and Recreation of House of the Dragon, we see, very interesting. I have another question that I have for you. They go past Sunfire. And, previously Daemon was like, Sunfire's burning and dead, whatever. Not according to Aegon. Aegon goes over to Sunfire while Larys has to pay the motherfucker 2 coins.
For 2 touches.
For 2 touches. Aegon goes over there. Just speaking High Valyrian. I'm like, Aegon, shut up. No High Valyrian over here.
You don't even know how to talk in High Valyrian. Shut up.
And it was just so, yeah, right. It was just saying nonsense to
Sunfire last season.
Yeah, that was very funny. But Sunfire, he says Sunfire is still breathing. And he does pick up like a scale of Sunfire to carry with him. I do like that connection a lot. This dragon connection is just so awesome to me. I do wonder, is Sunfire actually okay? Or is, because that could be huge if you have another dragon regaining strength. It reminded me of Superman. There's this like, is the sun healing Sunfire? Is like the red sun, is that working for Sunfire's benefit? I don't know. But can these dragons take that big of it? Sunfire literally exploded, like, right? Like, I feel like Sunfire dropped and like, boom. I feel like Sunfire like exploded from the inside out when
like a fucking World War II plane.
Right? That's what it felt like. It's like, bop. I'm like, okay, damn, Sunfire's gone. But maybe not. I don't know. What is your take on this?
Well, I know the answer, but but no. First of all, during this scene, I was like very impressed, not only because of how they keep humanizing Aegon in this show. Not that I'm rooting for the guy, but I do like when, even though this is like a horrible person and he's done terrible things, especially to women on this show, he's a fascinating character, and I think it's a good thing when the show is trying to like, this might not be a good person, but here's some elements of why you should give a shit about him.
Yeah.
So that was nice, but like also as I'm seeing the scene unfold, I'm like, is that dragon practical? It looks practical, like the head looks practical, and then I saw the behind the scenes, like, yeah, it was a practical head.
It was nice. Okay.
So that was cool, but no, yeah, this was a really funny exchange. This whole Sunfire thing has been kind of killing me. since season 2, in a similar way that the whole Thailand thing is killing me. Is like, just say it already. Like, why all the buildup?
Is Sunfire that important? I'm like, I did not expect this scenario at all. Like, I thought he was just like a cool dragon, looked beautiful, died beautiful. Well,
the
might have a part to play.
I will say, given the whole dragon bond, I don't think it's an accident that both Rider and Dragon right now are in very bad shape. How will they get as they progress in the story? We'll see. But speaking of progressing, they eventually arrived on Rook's Rest with Maylee's body still like hanging on the side of the wall.
Maylee's okay too? No.
Headless.
Headless.
But I really like this because, like, not only is it funny, but between Larys and Aegon and all of these other random people, but it is a cool way to contrast what's happening between him and Rhaenyra. As we see Rhaenyra make all of these decisions, and some of them being a mistake, like what she does to the small folk in this episode alone, we then cut to Aegon every once in a while, and he's fighting these people at Rook's Rest who are mistreating all of those people around them. And again, he isn't a great guy, but like the fact that he's still trying at least to give a shit about the common people, because he is now essentially one of them, walking amongst them as a cripple. It's very fascinating. Again, like, to contrast what he's doing and the decisions that he's making, and honestly really putting himself on the line for people that he doesn't even really know. It's contrast that with Rhaenyra. It's really fun, and again, it's new for me because none of this is in the book.
It is very interesting. I didn't even think of that comparison, but you're right on the money there. But even though it is also slightly self-interest too, he can't fathom. What is he even doing? He's taking piss and shit, and
separating the buckets or something like that.
Separating the buckets, giving it to other people. I'm like, this is weird as hell. And then he has to kiss the shoe that's been stepping in said piss and shit. Kill me now. I would have been just as pissed as Aegon. Granted, I wouldn't have been like, you mongrels, and he was going off on the guy. I'm like, Aegon, do you want to die? If I'm Larys, I'm like, every time this guy talks, I get a knife to the throat just because I'm close to this guy. It's like Aegon's gonna be the death of Larys. It's very funny. But yeah, it is very interesting, and I'm every time I see them, I'm just very curious. What is Aegon's role in the story? Is it riches to deep, dirty rags back to riches? I don't know for Aegon. Him and Sunfire are gonna rejuvenate, but I don't see it, even if they get healthy, as a happy story for them. We all know everybody's supposed to get like kaput. So what's the end for Aegon? I'm asking myself every episode as I see him slowly recovering. But yeah, so their main goal, though, correct me if I'm wrong, is to wait for passage to go to somewhere else after this. He says, like, Larys tells Aegon, like, give it 2 more days of this, and then I have a ship that can get us out of here. Where are they trying to go?
I forget the place that they say. I mean, I know where they eventually end up in, and I don't really want to dive into it because in the book it plays out as a huge review, as a kind of like a plot twist. And since we're following them from the perspective in the show, I wonder how that's gonna play out, because again, it is supposed to be a plot twist, and since we're seeing them from their perspective, like, obviously that's not gonna be a factor in their arc. So
got it. Okay,
we'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, I like the Aegon and Larys storyline. I don't know how long they'll stay in Rook's Rest, but they are leaving. I thought they would run into Kristen Cole and them, but they don't. Lastly, I do want to talk about Kristen Cole real quick as we leave this episode, because I like how we don't get a lot of Kristen Cole this season, but I do like his description when he gets hit with the failure of missing Aemon, missing Vhagar. He has a very interesting monologue, where he's like, I came from nothing, and if Aemon has really betrayed me, basically, he's like, all I have is my honor. My family had nothing. When that was taken away, all we had was just like our skills, and his skill as a fighter is kind of like all he's good for. And I like this from Kristen, who has been very disheartened with the onslaught of dragons after the Battle of Rook's Rest, nearly perishing from all the fire and feeling like he's a foot soldier in a dragon's war, bring a sword to a gunfight, basically, or a sword to a nuclear fight, basically. And he's felt so helpless. And now, on top of feeling helpless, he has no Aemond, who was his bro, basically. They plotted all this together. No Aemond, no Vhagar, it's just him. And unlike Gwaine, who was like, we should reunite with the other Hightowers because we are vastly outnumbered, he says, even though we are vastly outnumbered, as soldiers, we should be playing basically guerrilla warfare with the 10 times stronger forces of the, what are they called? The Whitebeards, the White Wolves.
The Winter Wolves, Greybeards, however you want to.
Winter Wolves, Greybeards. He feels like they should, even though they're vastly outnumbered, they should stop them as much as possible before they get to King's Landing. Even though Maester Orwell has said they should head over to Tumbleton on their way here, as we see they are. So yeah, I like that. Even Gwaine's like, that's a death sentence. Like we can't survive going against all those. And for Kristen, I think he accepts that death sentence because, like, at least he'll be going out on the battlefield, not getting killed by dragons or things that are outside of his control.
Yeah, it's like a mix of betrayal and also relief that Vhagar is not around anymore. Also because, like, you also have to keep in mind that Kristen never really confronted Aemon about what happened on Rook's Rest. It's not just that there was a dragon and like it was just like stomping on people like fucking nothing. It was the fact that he saw Aemon attempt to kill his brother.
True.
So, and I feel like that's sometimes gets lost, and I feel like that did play a big role in breaking his spirit as much as the actual dragons did. So yeah, I think that
was so like unjust in his eyes, right? Like that was so
I guess you could say that, even though like another hypocritical character with Kristen Cole, but maybe I think he might have seen that as like a step too far. I don't know. I'm not too sure. Even like Allison, when she tries to confront him about it in season 2, like he just keeps ignoring the question. I think at some point he even asked him like, "Oh, why don't you just ask him personally, like directly?" So yeah, that's interesting. And you know, Alice Rivers messing with people's heads. I was hoping for a vision. We didn't get a vision.
No, maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week. But yeah, it's always a blast seeing that actress.
Her facial reaction is like, oh my, oh my, because they're like, what? Rhaenyra took King's Landing? Yeah, whoops.
Yeah.
My main thing is like, is it a continuity error that Vhagar is nowhere to be seen? Because I was like, where's Vhagar? And then one of his soldiers are like, we scoured the lands, can't find Vhagar. I'm like, is she hiding magically, Vhagar or something?
Yeah, like that's what I thought. I was like, is she like making Vhagar invisible or what's happening here? Because like,
not find the biggest
Vhagar. Vhagar is almost the size of fucking Harrenhal itself.
Like, how can you not find him? Somebody says like, oh, he's probably just sleeping somewhere. I'm like, I feel like they would have searched long and hard for Vhagar. Vhagar wouldn't have left Aemon, so it is very weird. But I'll just run with it for now.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. But I think that's it.
That's about it. I thought
this is the preview.
This was a very strong episode. I didn't think we'd go so long, but these characters and the hypocrisies and their motivations are always so incredibly fascinating. A lot of family drama with Rhaena, Daemon, Ormund, and Daeron, Alicent, and Helena, and Rhaenyra's rule is slowly starting to find some cracks already. And I'm loving every second of it. But yeah, my main questions are like, if Hugh's at Old Town, what could he do? We talked about cracks with Ulf, but is Hugh? And I've always said like Hugh's big crack is going to be, if he is going to separate from Rhaenyra, one way to do it is put his family in danger. He's a big family man. He's a father. If that family is in danger, that could lead to him doing things his own way that goes against Rhaenyra, maybe.
Yeah. Well, one of them already died, so yeah.
One of them already died, so like yeah. So it isn't. It's not very good. Yeah. What? So his brother-in-law died.
Brother-in-law, yeah.
But yeah, we shall see. And I'm very curious to see what Daeron does. Can Daeron and Tessarion overcome the manipulation from Ormond, or do we have to wait for Ormond to die for Daeron to be free? We'll see. But find me on Twitter at Harris EV9, talking all things, I don't know, movies, games. I'm finally seeing The Odyssey for myself Thursday at 2 p.m. EST. I got my damn IMAX tickets. It's not confirmed. Did you get a Dune preview in front of yours? Did you see your 70 millimeter, or yours was just IMAX?
No, mine wasn't 70 millimeter, but since it was a press screening, they didn't show any trailers. They just played the movie.
Yours wasn't 70 millimeter, or yours was?
No, it was 70 millimeter.
Okay. Yeah. You said no trailers, nothing? Damn.
No, they never really play any of that for us when we do press screenings. So I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I was kind of hoping like, give me something, give me the Dune prologue already. Damn it! Also because it's the same print that they're gonna show to everybody else at Universal City Walk. So just include it already. Just put it in there.
Exactly.
Why take it out? Because it's attached to the film roll anyway.
So yeah, people say like it's unconfirmed that the Dune prologue is for all IMAX or just IMAX 70 millimeter, but I'm feeling it's just IMAX 70 millimeter. But they did say it's like 4 minutes or 7 minutes long. Granted, the Odyssey prologue in front of whatever movie that I forget what it was. Avatar was also like 4 minutes long, and we had a blast with that. So hopefully it's something that's widely available. Granted, I did finally buy Odyssey 70 millimeter tickets for next week, so I will see that next week after they're probably my third viewing, because I'm seeing it Thursday and Friday, and then I'll probably go I think it's Monday or Tuesday for 70 millimeter. Which is going to be my first 70 millimeter experience. I thought my first one was going to be Dune because I bought those tickets back earlier this year.
They got you.
Yeah, like as soon as that Dune trailer came out, I was like, yeah, I'm seeing that. So yeah, back in like April or whenever the tickets went on sale, I bought Dune immediately for 70 millimeter. That's the only reason I'm seeing Dune or Doomsday Thursday and Dune on Friday, because I want my first experience to be in 70 millimeter. Doomsday, I'll see you first, whatever format that is. Infinity Vision. Anyways, find me again on Twitter, Harris EV9. Tomorrow I'm doing a commentary with Nathan watching Evil Dead Rise. So yeah.
Yeah. I need to catch up on my movies. I need to watch Evil Dead Burn. I guess I'll watch Moana at some point. I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like I have to, because the fucking clip Josh played.
For the love of the game. My box office draft finally took a hit with this one.
Do we have Moana in there?
Moana was my second. So just to recap real quick, my list was Toy Story 5, Moana, The Odyssey, Scary Movie, and Backrooms.
Wow. Oh, you did have Backrooms. Good pick.
Yeah. Nobody picked fucking Obsession. Whoever would have picked that would have won immediately.
Damn, that's crazy. Now we know.
But yeah, you can find me at EDG or TEG, social medias. You can find some of my written work, a lot of reviews in the Cinema Spot. My review for The Odyssey will be published sometime in the morning next year, so you can check that out. Really interesting movie. I really liked it. I think rereading The Odyssey didn't help for certain things for me personally, but yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, you can find this podcast at WHFG Podcast, and we will see you hopefully this time around on Monday after House of the Dragon episode 5. Looks like it's a battle episode, maybe Tumbleton and maybe Butchers. What's the fucking called? I forgot the name of the fucking battle. Something Butcher. But yeah, you can catch us next week, and happy Odyssey release date, everyone. Bye-bye.